Hello, ISPA and Global Spa family, and welcome to Heart of the Matter, a series which brings together luminaries from a variety of fields and backgrounds for an in-depth conversation intended to spark thought, discussion, and inspiration for the spa industry and beyond. I'm Patrick Huey, your ISPA board chairman, and this will be a space where we talk about issues that matter to us not only as spa professionals, but also as human beings, because at the end of the day, we are really just people trying to help other people live really fabulous, integrated lives. And now, right now, with all that's happening, there may not be anything we human beings could use more in our lives than joy and laughter, which is why I'm thrilled to be joined in our conversation today by the wonderful Kathryn Hahn. Of films and television series from Bad Moms to Mrs. Fletcher to I Know This Much Is True, as well as Disney Plus's upcoming Marvel series, WandaVision. That was a lot to say, Kathryn.
So beautifully said.
I'm so happy you're here, Kathryn. When we were talking about this series and we wanted to talk about joy, I was like, I have to ask Kathryn to come because her work has brought people joy for the last 2 decades almost. I'm not aging you, I'm just saying almost 2 decades.
You're aging me.
I'm aging you, Fred. I want to talk about joy because, you know, the world is so heavy right now and there's a lot going on for people. And I wanted to talk to you just about your process as an actress, about your life, because you brought joy to so many people for so many years. So that's why you're here today. And thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy, about to go back into production on WandaVision, correct?
Mm. Maybe. Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a real bananas chapter for everybody, hasn't it? For
really,
sure.
It really. So let's get into it. Okay. My first question for you, Ms. Hahn, is there are so many people in so many industries, including the spa industry, who are returning to work and navigating life under very uncertain, sometimes overwhelming conditions. How have you been able to make time for and cultivate joy when times are tough?
That's such a good question. I mean, I certainly think that this particular time, like this quarantine time especially, because, I have 2 kids. I had been, a working parent. A lot of the times my job takes me out of town. And so my kids kind of had grown up in a little bit of like a circus family. That's just like the family that they have grown up in. That's kind of like what it had been for them. And so it has been kind of a different experience for us all to kind of be under the same roof. Something that I had not given myself opportunity to really, I guess I would say indulge in, is self-care in a way that is, very like the teeniest, like most precious kind of self-care to me that I just hadn't indulged in because I never thought I could afford it at the time. Like simple little things like a bath. Like I just had not done that in years and years and years because I had this engine I thought I needed to keep fueling with other things. I just never thought I would had the luxury of that kind of time or just a book, and so those little things are really like keep a flame of joy going. Or we had talked about this, even like the idea of just seeing a friend on Zoom or in person is such a spark of true joy. And because like there is this space of at the beginning of this when everyone was talking about the idea of closing of non-essential businesses. There's that idea of the personal closing of non-essential businesses also, and how there is like a sense of what is essential. And so when you see someone that you love, there is such a technicolor burst of joy from seeing that person that maybe, I'm speaking for myself, like had taken that for granted before, just interactions.
Kathryn, so you have 2 kids.
Yes.
And a preteen.
Yes.
So how are you?
Preteen and teen, I guess. I just have to say it. I can't believe it, but I got to just say it.
It's the truth. You got to own it.
It just happened, Patrick. I don't know how. I want to stop it so badly, but it's happening. Too fast, too fast.
But how are you navigating, you have a family and you're navigating your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, carving out time for yourself to find these moments of joy and happiness that keep you, that technicolor joy and happiness that keep you moving. How are you navigating that for yourself, but then also looping in your kids into that process because they have to be led through this as well. So how are you managing that and keeping that in a positive space for them and for you?
Yeah, that's a really good, yes. I mean, I want to, because this, this is also their childhood, this chapter, and so I want them to have, like, I don't want it to be this weird chapter of like this weird, heavy chapter. Like this was this precious summer. This was this year, I don't know, however long it's going to be, but I want them to, like you said, find joy in this. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to not see your friends. It's hard to find connection just through screens with your friends and have your parents say, like, you need to step away from it and be like, but that's where my friends are. Like, I can't imagine being a kid and not being able, this is when they should be having their first smooches. Like, this is when they should be having like their crushes. This is when, to be trapped in their rooms, like it's heartbreaking. So, and like, my kids don't want to be with their parents. This is when they need to be away from us. Like this, like they're looking at us like, oh, and they're stuck with us. Like they don't want to look at me. Like they're like, my son is just literally like, oh my God. Like, and I get it. So it's like, how do you find, like, we're trying to give him his own like space in this house to have like, just like pockets of independence. Like that's where my kids' ages are. It's different from any parent, but like for these ages, it's like, I just need to give him his autonomy within the ramifications of being stuck in a house with his parents. Like, I can't imagine it, but like, and just trying to find joy. So it's like, I guess it's just like patience, generosity. And it's also just energy. Like, how do we rid a room of like bad energy when we're all like how do you just like keep clearing the house of our own mishigas so that the space that we live in doesn't have to have like a dark energy in it, that it can just like it's like, how do we leave I almost swore, but how do we leave our crap at the door? Still swore, kind of, but how do we leave our crap at the door so that we can just like not put it on them? And how do they learn to just like separate themselves from their emotions and us from our emotions, so they don't take on our stuff and we don't take on theirs? So we just try to do that, we just try to keep that kind of practice. And just like listen, I'm saying all this, but does it work all the time? No. Are there ups and downs? Big time. But do we try to have a practice of serious gratitude? Yes. And do we try to like resist this chapter? Yes, but then also we can't, because it's just what's happening. So, now we just try to keep, it's our life. So like, if we keep resisting it, like, what is that? So, I don't know.
I love what you said, Kathryn, about it's our life. Because, as we look at this series in a broader term, we are going to talk about, our new lives versus our old lives, and you and I have talked about how we have to embrace that it is a new life, and we all want to go to the way it was on March 14th, 2020, but it's a new life. So how are you finding those moments to embrace the new? And
Well, it's so interesting. Like, I mean, I think we'd even said this, and pardon me if you've heard this before, but I remember our mutual friend saying that she had to go back to her kids' school to pick up like the stuff that had been left there on March 14th or whatever, like a few months after the fact. And she said she remembered walking in, and it was like the ruins of Pompeii. Like everything looked like it had been frozen. Like, oh, that's what school used to look like. Like, well, school will never look like that again. Will it ever look like that again? And it was this realization of just like life, the life before, like you don't, when you go through something like that, you don't realize that that was so mammoth, what we went through, that was something like, you know, you don't realize it as you're in the middle of something, of course. My other friend who's a rabbi was saying like how, you know, she had experienced when she had gone through cancer. She said that she remembered waking up in the morning after her diagnosis and being like this, and this is, you know, this is completely, she's okay and she's on the other side of it, but she remembers waking up and thinking like the grass is still green, the sky is still blue, the sun is still shining, but everything is different. Like the molecules are different. Like my life is complete, like how I look through everything is different, but then it forces you to let go. In like, it's actually like and I'm saying this, I know from a place of like such gratitude, but it really does, there is opportunity in like, in just like letting go. And so there is something there, like that, because there's no other option. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing else to do. Like you can't, like there's nothing else to hold to. There's no other way to go about it, because you're just like fighting the ocean. Like there's nothing else to do, because otherwise you're going to be just, you know, it's just going to be a whole new normal, and it's neither good nor bad. Like I tried to, my kids were so upset about online school. My son especially, like he's going into 8th grade and he's like so bummed out about friends, and he's just not motivated through online school. It's just like, not understandably, like it's not his jam. Like he just needs eye to eye. He like needs, and I just kept thinking, he just kept saying like, this is gonna suck. Like it's gonna just suck. It's gonna suck. And I was like, I just kept being like, does it have to? Like, it doesn't have to be amazing. No one's saying it has to be the best year, but it can be okay.
But how do we, because I find,
like, it doesn't have to be awful.
But how do we make that shift? How do we make that shift? Because I think we're all in different stages of this along the way of this sucks, you know? How do we still appreciate the sky is still blue, the grass is still green, and we're all dealing with, you know, careers are shifting, people are getting sick, people are getting better, some aren't. So there's like a whole world of things that we're dealing with.
The economy is a shit show. Oh, pardon my French. But yeah, like there's a lot of things that are not great. Like it's not great. Like the people that don't have jobs to go back to, the people that don't, like, it's horrible. There's a lot that's really, it's overwhelming. But in terms of like what life looks like, I don't know. I mean, I guess, here, just like getting into it, like, you know, once had a therapist who was like, you know, wake up and just like say 3 things you're grateful for inside yourself and outside yourself. Start inside yourself, inside your body, like in your own self, and then outside yourself. And if you like start the day, listen, all these things, do I practice these every day, Patrick? No, but just saying them out loud is like a good trigger memory for me too, to remind myself, like, if you try to start the day in a place of gratitude, then your lens to the world, because then, you know, we also live in a world like that is so, there's so much anger, righteous anger, understandable anger, but also quick anger. And it's also a place of just like going, like understandable, but like so much, but it does a lot to like, that's like a lot of sticky tar to carry.
Yeah.
And like, so it's like, how do you like work that into action for yourself rather than hold on to it? Like, how do you work that into something that is doable, that feels like, how do you release judgment and projections and turn those into action so that it's not just stuck? Like, these are things that I'm trying to work with, because it's like we just happen to be, and because I'm a parent too, it's like we're living in such a sticky time. Beautiful, like revolutionary time on so many levels. Like, but it's like, how do you translate the like into like what you were saying, like, how do we not live in that place? And how does it turn into like, it doesn't have to be like there's personal, like we always talked about in acting school, like doable action. Like what's our action?
So,
it's true.
Kathryn and I went to drama school together back in the dark ages. And so we've been friends for...
Patrick's an incredible actor.
Listen, we've been friends for 20 something years.
Oh,
When we were babies, literally babies when we started.
we were babies.
We were babies. But I think what you say, Kathryn, is really, you know, it is a sticky time, but I think, and I work with myself on this, is like, it doesn't have to be terrible. And, you know, we both have very full personal lives outside of this conversation right here. And we know each other in that way. And, you know, even in the darkest moments, it doesn't have to be terrible. You know, it's sometimes, it's about gratitude. And also, you know, when I find myself becoming verklempt about things that are happening or getting down, I just have to remind myself that this is my life. And as far as we know, it's the only chance we get. So we kind of have to figure out a way to make it doable. And I really believe, you know, one thing that I wanted to do, Kathryn, when I was so blessed to become chairman of ISPA and be elected to that position, was, you know, to think, and it's really why I wanted to have this conversation with you, is like, how do we move through this sticky time in a positive way?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to come out on the other end. Like, this is not the end of the story. You know, you think about all the people who came before, you know, people who survived influenza, people who survived World War II, people who made it through the really difficult time of the civil rights movement in the 1960s and women's suffrage movement in the early 1900s. They were really sticky times, but I think there's a resiliency in people that allows them to move through it. And those are the people who come out, right? And it's, you know, it's complicated.
Well, there is so much, like, well, for example, like what you're doing right now, like this, like there's so much goodness that's coming out of all these, there's so much goodness. And, you know, the fact that this is happening through your job is so beautiful. And that these conversations, like that this is a space where these conversations can happen is so beautiful and feels new and feels like, you know, not as, like, these are spaces that maybe wouldn't have been happening before, and like these kind of spaces. So like that even feels like new to me. And I think you're right. And I think people, I think change is scary and change is good. But it always feels like, sometimes it can feel a little like, of course. Yeah. For sure. But I also like, I think that you can, there's ways to find, like we were saying at the beginning, like I haven't felt it, like, I don't know if you can relate to this, but like when I feel joy in this chapter, like, or when I have felt joy, I have not felt joy like I have felt joy in this chapter. Like, I felt other feelings for sure, but like joy has felt like so full. Like I hadn't felt it that way in so long. And about like little things, like hearing a bird, like everything just feels like, like when, it's just like eating something.
We were talking.
We make.
We were talking one time, Kathryn, and you described it as Technicolor. You remember that?
Yes.
I was like it's because the times are so tough, and you described it as when the bird sings or the grass is green, and you realize.
Yeah, it's like a Disney film.
Yeah, it's Technicolor.
Yeah.
It's Technicolor.
Yeah. And you can see like people, because also, like even just social interactions, because they are so much rarer now, or they have been rarer. Like when you see someone, it's such nourishment. Like it feels nourishing in a way that they hadn't, or that one would take for granted. Like in a party, like mushy party, when everyone's just kind of like or whatever, a couple times a week, going out to dinner, like now it's like a nourishing, wanted, looked forward to, considered interaction that means something holier than it had maybe before. And so like there's those kind of things that like hopefully will be taken, those kind of things I feel much more precious to me, for sure. Like friendships like that and family, family that I would never, that I would see like at my, family reunions once every couple years, were like having regular Zooms, like, those kind of interactions that maybe hadn't been at the forefront of my mind. All of a sudden those things are becoming more precious. So yeah, road trips, the kids, like, just to see them. Anyway, so that kind of stuff like feels, closing of non-essential businesses, honestly.
But doesn't it feel like, I feel like through this time, and when people always ask me, what do you think has been the biggest change from a business perspective in terms of this, of course, the spa industry? And I keep saying, we've gotten back to what's essential.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was driving from California to Utah, and just to be on the road and see the mountains, I was like, when is the last time I did that? I was on a plane somewhere all the time, but the last time I got to drive somewhere and see mountains and stop and walk around the lake. But it's like, what is essential? It becomes really clear. It's become very clear what's essential, because you don't like rushing to the dinner, rushing to this or that, but it's like, what's the essential piece that you have?
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to bring to our industry.
Yes.
You love spa, so I'm going to include you.
I love a spa.
But I feel like we have to get back. What's essential? And it's not. It's what's happening between the two of us right now. The human, and it's reconnecting with old friends and old family. But
yes, and like I keep wanting to say the word. Another word that comes back or comes is like not only letting. A phrase is not only letting go, but just nourishment. Like, what is nourishing? Like, what is nourishing to you, to your family, to your loved ones? Like, like I said at the beginning, I think like in terms of joy too, like, the idea of self-care is different now. Like, I mean, I never took a siesta in the middle of the day ever. And I have indulged in that this summer a couple times, and it was delicious. Like it was the best. And, next to my daughter, like, are you kidding me? I will never forget that as long as I live. Like it was the best. And you know, we didn't really like, you know, we just kind of, you know, piecemealed a little holiday together. You know, we took a little road trip for a couple of days here and a couple of days there, like, you know, around the state. Just a couple of weekends, but for the most part, we've just been here, fostering kittens. But like
With your
which has been the best kitten town over here. But you know, that kind of stuff, that's been like the best. My husband makes lunches for the homeless every Sunday from the beginning of this quarantine, and so the kids like decorate the bags, and so that's been like really meaningful. And you know, we try to like just you know, dig in as a family, watching shows, like just like it just feels like do you remember at the beginning of it when it was really rainy out here?
It was dark, and it was just like it was a literal physical gesture of what I think we were all experiencing when the skies, and it rained for weeks in California.
It rained for weeks, and then everyone kept saying 10 days, 10 days, 10 days. It's going to be 10 days, 10 days.
Yeah.
And we were like, how are we going to do 10 days?
Yeah.
And then cut to, it's so crazy.
My life is here.
It's amazing. I just remember being like 10 days. That is what is happening? Yeah.
Kathryn, okay, so I love to play this game with myself. What do you think? Because I keep saying to myself in this time, I say to my mom all the time, I don't want to miss the lesson in this moment, because there's a lesson in this that we.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think? A, what do you think the lesson is?
God.
B, and like, listen, we're all prognosticating at this point, but what do you think the lesson is? And then we're going to change when we come out of this, because we will come out. But what's going to be left in terms of these moments that we've been living through? Like, what do you see there?
I mean, I think the lesson is like, I mean,
Make me cry.
I guess there's like a slow down.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know. There could be a slowdown. I mean, for me, it definitely seems to be. And without it putting any sort of like, I don't know if there's a slow down and take care of this planet vibe to me for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And for sure. And I think on the other side of it, it's going to be, I mean, I hope, I mean, it's so hard to not speak, like, I guess, globally, I just think, I just hope that people come out of, I'm always looking for just like more empathy.
Yeah.
I think people have had a lot of, because there's been some time to look inward, and and it's brought out a lot of people's empathy during a lot of this time. I hope that continues to happen. There's been a lot of time for like reflection, and I hope that continues to happen. More empathy. You know, we're all, this thing is, you know, we're all in this together, whether or not we have, you know, there's leadership at the top. We really are. So I hope that everyone continues just empathy to take care of each other. Because I feel like that's the way out, for sure, of it. And just getting back to whatever, like we were saying, like, is it, are we going to, whatever the normal is on the other side, the new normal is on the other side, hopefully it will look fairer, and hopefully it will look fairer, because I think that this has brought a lot of that to the surface.
Yeah. It's like an epic. It feels like we're at the end of an epic.
Yeah.
And it's where it's like we're going to have to move in a different direction. And a lot of it is going to be based, I hope and pray that it's going to be based on empathy and kindness and people taking care of themselves.
Yes.
You know, and I think, you know, I look at it through the lens of myself as a person, but also, you know, what is best for this, for this industry. And it's, you know, people need that self-care. They need that nurture. They need that empathy. And I think a lot of them want to create within our spa industry, and we do create the space for people to experience that.
Nourishment. I mean, it is, I definitely, like, I know that it is seen as a luxury, but it is also like very, I missed it. I did miss it so much. Like that kind of just touch is like, that's what I've been missing so much. I really have. I was like, I miss it so much. I can't wait. That's what I miss the most is like, is that like, cause I was like, you know, I'm like a massage junkie. So I love massage. I miss it so much. My husband is great, but you know, it's different when you have a professional. Don't tell him that.
We won't tell him. We won't tell him. Okay. I have one more question for you. And you've been so keen to play in this conversation today, so I so appreciate that.
Oh God, I love you.
I love you too. What do you think is the silver lining for you here?
Silver lining is that I feel, I mean, again, just freaking gratitude, so much gratitude. I think the silver lining is that I feel like, if not having known that this was going to be, like none of us did, at the middle, if this is luck, I mean, knock on wood, if I can say that this was the middle chapter in the book of my life, opening it up, like, it kind of like, what a time to be able to just be like, okay, I'm middle-aged. I'm just like staring down the barrel of this next chapter of my life. You know, it has been an amazing opportunity to just kind of settle into myself, and figure out what's really truly important and really and truly who I feel like I am, and B, who I would like to be in this next chapter. And what a great gift, because things had been, you know, things move so fast, and we don't, you know, at least me, I did not give myself the I did not give myself the self-care or I didn't give myself enough self-care or self-love to really stop and take care of myself in those ways. So I'm trying to use a little bit of this as kind of a gift, I guess. That's a silver lining. I'm not saying that it's always roses, Patrick Huey. It's not. God knows. But at least that's part of it.
Oh my gosh. Kathryn, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Oh my gosh, you were so fabulous. This was so fantastic. I needed this too.
Thank you. I mean, you so graciously shared your wisdom and your heart with our little spa community here. in the US.
So absolutely my pleasure.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to watch all of these.
We'll send
Deep dives.
deep dives. To everyone watching, thank you for joining us as well, and keep an eye out for ISPA social media channels and experienceispa.com for the details about other installments of Heart of the Matter series, as well as other virtual offerings and spa reopening resources. Stay well and have a wonderful, beautiful, blessed day. Thank you so much.